2013 Open DC Annual Conference. How's everybody feeling today? Good? Got your coffee, got your breakfast, settled in? So I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Faryal Khan. I've come from New York City, and I'm so honored to be a part of this amazing event today. We've got so much going on that we're going to tell you about shortly. And I don't know about you, Daoud, but I know that there's nowhere else I'd rather be at 9 a.m. on a Saturday.
Really? A few places come to mind.
All jokes aside, we've got a great lineup for you guys today with game changers represented here today from all over the world. And by a quick show of hands, how many of you out there are game changers? Scared me for a second. I was like, just one? Well, that's wonderful. And you know, our goal is that you're going to leave here today feeling inspired and excited, and I'll leave it at that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host Daoud, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the logistics of how today is going to run.
Great, thank you, Faryal. So my name is Daoud. Some of you may have seen me here on this podium at Open DC events in the years past. Welcome once again. We're really excited to have you here. We believe, and you will see, that this is the best show we have put together ever in our history. So stay tuned. I just wanted to go over a few logistics for you guys. If you need any help, please approach me or Faryal or any of our executive committee members. If the executive committee members can raise their hands so that people would know who they are. Yeah, just reach out to us if you guys need any assistance. There will be a Q&A session, so let me just tell you how it's going to roll. We are going to have a member of our executive committee and charter member team come and introduce each one of our speakers. After their presentations, there will be an approximately 5 minutes question and answer session. I'm encouraging, and we are all encouraging you to use our electronic means to ask questions. If you haven't downloaded the app, the instructions are on the sheet, which is available at the registration desk, or you can ask one of us. It looks like this. If you do not have an iOS or Android compatible phone, you can use a URL. So if you have a Windows phone or a BlackBerry or some other technology, please feel free to go to the URL and ask the questions. That's the best way of asking questions. Both Faryal and I will be here, and you prefer to use the microphone, the questions. I'll be in one corner, Faryal will be in the other corner. Please come to us and we'll queue you up. Ask as many questions as you like, as often as you want. There's no limitation on the number of questions. Obviously, the time limit is 5 minutes, and be cognizant we have a jam-packed agenda, so we'll be going through very fast. Let me make sure I've not left out anything else. Yeah, I think we covered everything. Once again, sit back, relax, be inspired. There's a lot of material you're going to see. Ask us questions, ask the speakers questions, take the opportunity to meet other people who are attending. And the speakers will stick around, most of them, during the break times and lunch.
Hashtag get excited.
Get excited, exactly. With that, With that, we'd like to welcome Imran Akram and Nargis Ali to come up here, and welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. We're so delighted to have you here, Imran. What a great audience.
What a great audience. And for a Saturday morning, it's such a beautiful day today, and
absolutely,
you guys came. Thank you.
So we have in our audience people from all over the place, right?
Yep. So
I see a lot of faces that are not from DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah, in fact, you want to tell where our speakers come from?
So we have a really incredible line of speakers today. We're very honored that people have come from far and close. So we have speakers that have come from the Washington metropolitan area. So let's give a big hand to those guys who've come from the Maryland, DC areas. Sanjay, thank you. Mansoor is here. And then we have speakers who come from California. So big hand for Bilal Musharraf and Ashar Aziz. Thank you. And then we also have two very powerful speakers that have come from all the way from Pakistan. How many miles is that?
7,000 or so?
7,000?
Yeah. If
Okay.
you fly by the
So-
Great Circle, I think it's 7,000.
Asad and Farhad Humayun, Asad Umar is here. We are very honored. Thank you so much. They have literally come here for a day and a half just to attend the conference. Really appreciate it, Asad. Thank you.
And let's not forget our guests from our other open chapters. We have, let's start from the closest. That would be New York. Well, missing, huh?
In New York, missing in action? Where is
But-
New York? Are you here? No one
No,
from New York.
no.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we have people from Boston.
Yep.
Kewan is here. Then we have people from Houston. And, well, California, of course.
Yes.
But then you know what? Our international chapters. We have the chairman of the London chapter here.
Wow. And just on that note, the London chapter actually was inaugurated 2 weeks ago, and we were privileged enough to go and attend that. We did get a tour in the red bus too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Naseem.
Yeah, that was
That
great.
was very
yeah.
nice. Thank
Yep,
you.
yep.
So, what do we want to say here?
Well, this is our 10th anniversary event.
Really?
Yep, yep.
10th anniversary only?
Well, it's also the 15th anniversary of Open itself,
Oh my God, what's the date today, guys?
November 9th.
November 9th. Oh, that reminds me. Does anybody know the significance of November 9th besides absolutely going in history, Open's 10 years and 15 years? It's the birth anniversary of a great poet. The theme today is game changers. And one of the greatest game changers in the subcontinent was a poet known as Sir Muhammad Iqbal. And he was born today. And it was such an incredible moment to realize that Allama Iqbal was the first revolutionary poet who actually brought in the concept of change. He talked about changing from within and then changing your surroundings. So I'm going to quote one of his shares. For those of you who don't understand Urdu, forgive me because I don't even know how to translate this. It's खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रज़ा क्या है. So the change has to be within. Hey guys, you have to feel that change now. And every change has to start with a vision, unless it's a change that you don't even know about. The time is changing, the weather is changing. But if you have to bring a change anywhere, there has to be a vision. There has to be a dream that you pursue. Follow the dream, get that vision in your mind and follow it. Start changing from within and you'll see the change. But also, don't forget, enjoy the now, because the now is really beautiful.
That's beautiful, Nergis. That's beautiful. In fact, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders here, and I believe that the foremost duty of a leader is to drive change
Absolutely.
within their own life and within their organizations.
So today, not only are we going to look inwards for the change that we want to bring within ourselves and around us, we've got a great team of presenters who are going to talk about the change in their own environment, in their own academic or their enterprise or their political fields that they're bringing the change into. But also, we wanted to talk about Open's change,
Yeah,
right?
so, Nergis,
Has Open changed?
how is Open changing?
I don't know.
Well,
You tell me.
first of all, for those of you who've been attending, does anybody here have a perfect attendance for the last 10 events? This is the 10th event. Wow.
Wow.
Raza there.
Woo!
Oh, Mushtaq. Javed. Anybody back there? So
Mushtaq's
Rizwan.
wife too.
Mushtaq's wife too. Oh, sorry.
Let's not forget that.
Let's not forget that. So, Shakil. Okay, did I miss anybody? Okay, so you would have noticed that Open is changing. Isn't this a changed event?
So I can add to that. So this is a changed event. Not only is a venue, beautiful venue that we have today.
Thanks to Capital One.
Thanks to Capital One, right? But also, if you notice, you have an app that you can download. We have the technology at its highest peaks. These guys who have been so incredible, they have actually been my backbone to put this event together. It's all their effort. And they have an iPhone app. You have the amazing blast that went out for the event for the marketing. So the marketing people did a great job. So I can only request there's some of our EC members that are actually up there in the AV room. And so let me say a few words and hear it from their. This is the EC.
Movie, huh?
Genie's stuck.
I suppose so.
Open is an amazing platform for inspiring people who are in business, in entrepreneurship, in leadership, in networking.
Every interaction project that I work on, I get to work with such smart people, and it really pushes me to grow and work towards my goals. And I really feel like working with these people is setting me apart from other people my age, because I'm getting such quality mentorship in such an organic and awesome environment.
The biggest benefit that Washington DC's Open chapter has brought to me is that I work with a lot of people who have been able to work with me and bring a lot of new endeavors to forth.
I joined to get the opportunity to meet with leaders and entrepreneurs who are successful in their own industries and to learn and gain from them.
One of the things that I've liked the most is that I've been able to forge long-term relationships with these people, and I've been able to improve and build on my career.
It has helped me develop as an individual and also as an entrepreneur, and I do look forward to contributing to Open in many other ways.
The thing that keeps me coming back for more every single year is the support and friendship that I get from each member of the executive committee.
I love OpenDC because of the camaraderie and opportunities for growth and expansion. It has given me a great opportunity to meet a lot of people who are leading in their respective fields, and Open is giving me a chance to learn and grow from their experience.
I get to interact and meet professionals and entrepreneurs who are at the top of their game on a regular basis and enrich my professional experience.
I've had a lot of opportunity to meet various leaders and learn from them. And I love coming back to Open DC because of the support structure for professional networking, and it's really like a family.
So welcome to Open. So this remarkable EC, I can't even begin to tell you that coming here today is a pleasure, but for me the journey was incredible. The journey with all these young people. Ali, who also happens to be my son, he put this together last night. He didn't sleep a wink, and he was like, what did you do here? So they come up with all these ideas, and it is just amazing to see the energy, and I cannot even tell you, I don't have to sleep for 5 nights because I have so much energy because of my team. Thank you, EC, thank you very much. Thank you, all of you.
And thank you, Nergis, because she's been driving the EC. And I got a text from her at 4:30 this morning.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't think she slept either.
No. So we wanted to acknowledge Capital One. So I just want to say that at Open, one of the changes that we wanted to bring in was to find a branding partner. And we were very delighted to discover Capital One. And it could only have happened because of this one woman who recognized, the relationship and recognized that we were a potential good partner. So thank you, Trang. Would you just come up for a minute, Trang? Let's give Trang a big hand. Yes. So Trang has made it possible for us to have all of you here today. Thank you. You want to say something?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. We are delighted to have you all here, board member of Open Washington, and chair the executive committee and the guest. So we hope we're going to have a delightful day today, and thanks again for being on our campus today. And we look forward for a fruitful and long-term relationship. Thanks again.
Trang, we have a little...
If you haven't banked with Capital One, try it. They're the best bank to work with.
And we have a little token of our appreciation for you here. It's our coin for our event.
And I want to call upon stage Julie Loftus. She has been a pillar of strength for me. She was with Capital One, but she has given us an incredible, emails pestering her 5 times a day. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Your theme today ties in so beautifully with Capital One's theme, which is changing banking for good. Woo. And that's a double entendre. We really do want to change banking for good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We've got a great partner here. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So Imran, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, so I just wanted to acknowledge our sponsors. Dices is one of our major corporate sponsors, and so is IBB Consulting. Afzal, I think he's not here, he's a charter member. And also our charter members who have sponsored, whose businesses have sponsored this event, and they have themselves sponsored tables for their people from their companies. So thank you very much, and thank you for all the members who have come today. Thank you.
I want to just say a special thank you to Faryal, who's come all the way from New York. She's volunteered to be our key MC here with Daud. Thank you so much, Faryal. Also want to recognize Sherry. Sherry, where are you? I don't know if she's here, but Sherry has been our marketing designer. She's designed the coins. She's designed all the marketing materials. Thank you so much, Sherry, for coming down and helping us. These people make it happen. You know, people out of nowhere just come out of the woodworks and they help you and things happen. So look at the woodwork closely. So I want to just finish off.
Yes, you had another share.
I had a share that I thought just now in the corridor that I thought we would finish off with, and I'd say, सितारों से आगे जहान और भी हैं. And Allama Iqbal says, अभी इश्क के इम्तिहान और भी हैं. See you. Have a great day.
Enjoy.
Okay, so just so you know, for those of you who trickled in, Dawood and I are going to be introducing people in between, and so we are going to keep coming up to stage every time, so get used to seeing our faces. It was really a self-fulfilling idea that we had on the agenda. So anyways, I would now like to just welcome Arfa, one of our EC members, and Rizwan, one of our charter members, to the stage to introduce our first speaker. That's your cue, guys.
So Arfa, are you excited about today's event?
Rizwan, I am so excited. I'm a huge fan of superheroes, and rumor on the street is there's a Cyberman in the audience today.
A Cyberman? What does he do?
Well, he fights cybercrime to keep us all safe from malware and cyber attacks, and my source is pretty accurate. I'm positive he's here. We just have to find him because he's in disguise.
So let's see. We've got a lot of Pakistani Americans here, so he must be disguised as an engineer, perhaps, or maybe a doctor.
I think you're onto something, possibly.
Actually, since he's a superhero, I think he may be dressed a little differently. So maybe he's got a cape like this, you know?
No, Rizwan, I don't think he's wearing a dupatta around his neck.
So perhaps he's a graduate of MIT with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. And he founded a company called TerraSpring, which was acquired by Sun Microsystems in 2002. Or perhaps he's somebody who spent 12 years at Sun Microsystems as a distinguished engineer and recently founded a cybersecurity company that went public and raised millions for the founders.
You must be right. You're definitely onto something.
So how do we find the Cyberman?
Well, I think we have to summon him so he can come teach us all how to be successful entrepreneurs. And we have to send out a signal. There's the FireEye signal, so hopefully he'll see that and join us on the stage.
So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first keynote speaker of the day, Cyberman Asher Aziz.
This is good. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I don't think I've been introduced as Cyberman ever before, but thanks for the effort there. It's good. I did actually have a superhero as a role model when I was growing up. It was actually Iron Man, you know, that fictitious character who also went to MIT and then saved the world from crime. And so with FireEye, that was my goal, was to create a new defensive architecture. And I'm quite used to talking about FireEye and our products, but today I'm going to talk about something very different. I don't think there are too many FireEye prospects or customers in this audience, so I'd probably be wasting my time if I tell you how the FireEye product was so good. Rather, I'll focus on something very different, which is the process of creating companies like FireEye. My thought process, the one that I used to start FireEye, one that I've used, is really the process of creating disruptive innovation. And I think maybe that'll be a more interesting talk for this particular audience. So a disruptive business is not an ordinary business because its goal is to change the game, if you will. It's about disrupting the incumbents with a new kind of innovation, which ultimately destroys the incumbent players and brings in a new set of players and creates incredible value for the users or the customers of that business's products, and also creates incredible value for the creators of the business and the shareholders. So that actually is an interesting exercise, and I've now worked on this for 13 or 14 years in the context of 2 different startups. And I'll talk about the process. It's not all intuitive. So it's an interesting exercise, and I'll talk about the journey, the lessons I've learned in creating 2 startups, one which was marginally successful, the other one which we've just taken public and is doing quite well. So the process of creating a disruptive business is, I'm going to divide that into multiple phases. First is, how do you think about creating a business? How do you approach the concept of a business? And I frequently find that a lot of people think about it in a different way, particularly technologists. And I'm a technologist. I am an engineer by training. And the intuitive way of thinking about a business is actually the wrong way. So I'll talk about what I think is a better way to start about creating a business. And it's not intuitive. How do you create that first product? How do you make it work? And how do you take a business that's not going to be another business, but it's going to be a global business that's going to be a standalone global company? What are the changes you have to make in your thought process and your strategy as you're going from a startup running out of your living room or your garage to being a global business? It would be remiss of me not to talk about how you're going to have to deal with the setbacks which are inevitable in this kind of a journey, and how to think about it. Most people will tell you all the good intellectual sorts of things that you have to know in order to start a business, but anybody who's actually started a business knows that there is inevitable setback and failure. And most businesses fail because the people who are running the business cannot adequately deal with those setbacks and failures. All right, so my philosophy is that a business exists to solve problems. And therefore, you should be in the search of problems when you're creating a business. As a technologist, we are trained to solve problems. We're given a problem in school. So I went to MIT, and I got lots and lots of problem sets. The day I got there, they handed me a whole bunch of problem sets. And we worked on solving those problems. And so we get very good at solving problems. What we don't get so good at is finding problems and finding the right problems to solve. And I'm going to suggest to you that an entrepreneur's job is really to go find the right problem to solve. Very frequently, a technologist will have a solution in mind. Here's a gizmo that does something. Does it do something useful? And does it have the attributes that map to a large target market? They don't think about that. So how you think about solving a problem is the key part of building a business. The second part that is not intuitive here is you don't have to know how to solve the problem. Okay, this is going to be non-intuitive. How the hell am I going to start a business if I don't know the domain very well? And the answer is you don't have to know the domain. Actually, my both startups, when I did, I knew nothing about virtualized data centers, and actually knew nothing about malware when I started TerraSpring and FireEye. So it is completely doable to start off with the search for a problem. In fact, that is the right way to think about the business. What are the attributes of these problems that you should be thinking about? Well, the problems should have long-term secular trends of worsening, which means that the incumbent solutions will get worse and worse over time because the problem is getting worse. It's not a transient problem. It has secular trends towards getting worse. And once you have defined this, you have to think about, well, where am I going to find these problems? What kind of problems am I looking for? And a fruitful place to look for problems is at the boundary of change. Every time there's change, any kind of change, new kind of technology, new kind of capabilities come into play, new problems come into being. So you will find interesting problems at these boundaries of change. The internet came about, created a lot of change. Well, That created a lot of problems too. We had to go find information on the web. We had to find ways to connect each other. So businesses were created to solve those problems. The good news for an entrepreneur is that the only constant in life is change. So you'll always find these opportunities. Change is always around us. So we can find these problems because these problems are constantly being created. And the good thing about these kinds of problems versus other kinds of problems is the incumbents are poorly situated to solve these problems. They're very focused on their existing business. They're very focused on their existing business model. And they get blindsided when something new comes in to the market, and even a large multi-billion-dollar business simply cannot react and then get marginalized. And there's a way that you can effectively do that. Now, there's another kind of problem. You could be experiencing these problems yourself, but then you're more likely to be creating a consumer-oriented business, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my experience has been primarily with enterprise-focused businesses. I want to speak mostly to that. But I believe that the discipline and some of the thought process is common across both consumer and enterprise businesses. Having defined a problem, you should now think about the solution in the abstract before you think about what are the gizmos that go inside it. What is the perfect solution here? What if I were to make a magical black box that solved this problem? And what would be the attributes of that black box? Remember, I don't know what's inside this black box just yet. But you're saying, if this is a problem, and this problem maps to a large set of users, therefore a large target market, then this solution will be readily adopted by a large target market. I still don't know how this solution is going to work. Remember, this is the non-intuitive part. What do you mean? You're doing all this stuff. It could be complicated. Maybe I don't know how to do it, right? But it's actually the right approach to solve. And this is exactly the approach I used to start FireEye. I'll talk about that because the magical black box was the perfect detector. It would catch all the attacks about which it knows nothing. And I didn't know what was in the box, by the way. I had to go figure that out. The other thing, it's easy to get rose-tinted glasses when you're looking at your solution and say, this is the perfect solution. You have to do very good what-if analysis to see, if I were to build this, will this actually fly for a long period of time? Or will this get marginalized by something that is a change in the market or is a simple change to the incumbent's product? Right? This is key here. There are lots and lots of companies that got built because they did not anticipate the evolution of the market. For example, the solar PV industry has gone through radical change, and the cost of PV has dramatically come down, and that has decimated so many companies that did not anticipate the falling prices of solar panels. They created all these technologies that did not have a supply chain that could meet the economics of the other supply chain. Billions were wiped out because they did not do the adequate what-if analysis. The other what-if analysis is this problem something that will be solved incrementally by the large 800-pound gorilla in your market? And so once you make the effort to do it, their next iteration of the product has it. And now you're marginalized because now you're small and they're big and they have what you have. So that's checkmate for you. So how do you do checkmate on them? Right? That's the key here. You're one guy in a garage and you're trying to checkmate large multi-billion-dollar giants. So let's talk about what are some interesting attributes of this ideal solution. And this ideal solution is both a product or a service, therefore there may be a technological dimension to it. And it's also going to create a financial model for the company. So there is a business aspect of this that needs to be kept in mind. So the nice thing about business models, and I just went through an IPO roadshow, and I can tell you that the street loves to have visibility and predictability in your business model. So recurring revenue streams are an awesome thing to have. So can you find something in your business model that generates a recurring revenue stream? There's a lady who's a venture capitalist. Just a few days ago, she did a survey of what she called the Unicorn Club. These are 39 companies that were founded in the last 10 years that have a market valuation of more than $1 billion. It was a very interesting study. I read that, and FireEye was included in that study. The interesting thing about that was half the companies that are in the Unicorn Club, by the way, that's 0.07% of all venture-backed companies, so it's a small club, had network effects in them. What that means is that the more the users of the product, the better the product gets. Now, you might think that that is actually a consumer business concept like LinkedIn or Facebook, but it's not. It's actually, FireEye has network effects from the beginning. So you can build network effects even into an enterprise business. And the value of that creates, in effect, a winner-takes-all scenario. When you're in a market and everybody has gravitated into your platform, so if it's auctions, it's eBay. If it's social networking, it's Facebook. If it's professional networking, it's LinkedIn. And if it's threat intelligence sharing, it's FireEye. Those network effects create a winner-take-all scenario that makes it very, very hard for anybody to come into your playpen and play with you, because your network is snowballing and they're being marginalized as you're growing. Here is another interesting thing. You need to think about this very incrementally, and I learned this the hard way. I call this my $100 million lesson. That's how much I spent on my first startup. To go into the market with an incremental product. You may have a grandiose vision, this all-encompassing architecture that's going to take over everything, but you're two guys and a dog. Who's going to buy it from you, right? So when you walk into the market with this grandiose ambition of having this global platform, you can't build something so critical that the customer says, I'll buy that, but not from you. You're too small. I'll buy that from some big guy. Let him come figure it out. I'm not going to buy it from you. It's too mission critical for me. Give me something that's small, and I'll take that from you, but not something so mission critical. But this thing will evolve into the platform. That's the key. You're playing chess and you've moved one pawn, and ultimately after you've moved the pawns on the board, you will have checkmate. But you don't have checkmate in one move. You have to think about it incrementally. So as a startup, your disadvantage is you don't have credibility. So you have to walk in and solve a very focused problem, a singular problem. That's what I call the point product. Now, by definition, a point product company cannot be greatly valued because it's only a point product, right? Those companies go for $100, $200 million as an exit. But a platform company has a much higher valuation, but you can't begin life as a platform company. So that's also not intuitive. Lastly, you should not require $100 million or more to get to the first proof point. You have to incrementally build your proof points as well. So low capital intensity is a hallmark of the right business approach. High capital intensity, sometimes it can work, it's rare. Most businesses that take in $500 million or $1 billion before they will be at scale, those businesses are very likely to fail. That was the other mistake of my first startup. All right. What are some undesirable attributes of your solution and your business approach? The first thing, and I've seen this in so many different startup plans, is risk concentration. You have a few events, a few decisions that don't go your way and you're out of luck. You're dead. What's an example of that? Well, the best example of that right now is the Spanish solar industry. I don't know if you guys know what's going on there, but they're all on the verge of bankruptcy. Why is that? 50% of the electricity, by the way, in Spain comes from solar. That's a great outcome. That's because the Spanish government subsidized it. And they did not anticipate that 50% of their electricity would come from solar, and therefore the government can no longer afford to subsidize it. And the debt that these companies took assumed a rate of subsidy which can no longer be provided. So they're all teetering on the verge of bankruptcy. So a simple what if this subsidy goes away because it's in the hand of a bureaucrat is a useful question to ask. There are businesses that people come up with and they say, well, you know, I need the OEM suppliers, the top 3 computer OEM suppliers, they'll be my channel because I'll have this nice little widget. But those are 3 or 4 decisions. If they don't go your way, you don't have a business. The other one is, I found this beautiful OEM partner. He'll take 50% of my business. It's Cisco. My God, I'm so lucky. They're going to sell my product. But what if Cisco pulls the plug? 50% of your business just went out the door, right? You cannot have risk concentration in a small number of decisions in the hands of a small number of people. When you're thinking about this solution, make sure that the attributes of this solution are appropriate for your target market. So there's, I would say, a large number of companies that went and built something that was not relevant to the target market. And the best example of that is efficiency. Solar cell efficiency wiped out a large number of companies because what that means is effectively I'll take less space, right, on the roof. And space is not the issue in the roof, money is, right? So CPV and many of the technologies went under because they had built in this supply chain that could not meet the supply chain of the falling single cell, low efficiency panels, which now are flooding the market. So all of those companies went under. So you have to make sure that the attributes that you are valuing, your target market will value those too. And of course, capital intensity, worth saying again, you should be able to get to proof points with a modest amount of venture or financing, which is like $5 to $15 million to get to some proof points, not hundreds of millions of dollars. All right, how do you create the technology having gone through this process? Now you have this perfect black box. You got to fill out this black box. Well, here is the other not so intuitive part. Now you have to become a domain expert, because if you're not a domain expert, you're not going to solve this problem very well. And this again, now we are in the realm of engineering. Now the problem has been defined, and this is the problem that you were taught to solve in school. So if you did that part well, you can do this part well. But you went through the discipline of saying, I'm solving the right problem. If I build this, they will come. Versus, I'll build it, it's beautiful, but hey, who wants this, right? That's a tougher problem to solve. You might think that this is actually absurd. How can you actually go solve a problem about which you are not a domain expert? And the answer is simple, go become one. So my inspiration here has been people like Alexander Graham Bell and Edison. We use the telephone now. We don't know that Mr. Bell actually did not know how to build it. And he was completely stumped. He had the high-level picture of a telephone, which is the acoustics and the mechanical aspect that converted sound into mechanical vibrations, which then had to be converted into electricity. But he did not have deep knowledge of electrical domain. So he had this high-level concept, and he was ready to give up. And he went to his mentor, and he said, you know, this is this really interesting concept for speaking on the cross electrical wires. But I just don't know how to solve this problem. And he had a very simple admonition from his mentor. Go get the knowledge. Go figure it out. The other thing that he did was he actually recruited Thomas Watson, who was actually a very good domain expert. So the two parts of this is you need to know enough about the problem to decompose it, and then secondly, to hire the right people who will then complement your lack of particular scale or domain knowledge. The other not so well-known thing about the light bulb, very good, my two favorite examples, light bulb and the telephone. Edison actually bought the patent for the light bulb. He didn't invent it. What he did was he perfected it, because the light bulb wouldn't stay on for too long because the filament would burn out. So he spent many years and 1,000 iterations building the right filament. And most people don't realize that it takes a lot of trial and error to get something of product quality. And he was not the one who did it. He had two really strong people, a theoretician by the name of Upton and a practitioner by the name of Batchelor, who actually did the work. So these are useful things to keep in mind as we think about building new stuff. So you got to go find the people, and you got to go find. Now, you are building this, and you have convinced somebody, an investor, who believes in you. You've taken in some money. And you think you've got the product headed in the right direction, and you start building it. Here, I've seen too many companies overbuild the company before they have any proof points. So you don't need a lot of people at this stage. You need a development organization. It's not even a business at this point in time. That's why I don't even call it building the business at this point in time. It's building the product or the service or the technology. And you've built a skeletal team who have the right domain experience to build in the subsystems at the high level that you need built. You need to get this into the market because your theoretical analysis will only get you so far. Your practical analysis is what is needed. And this needs to be built using real-world data, not some hypothetical construct. All right, so now that you have a product, you need to have the ability to take it into the market, and you have to do what is called early-stage sales execution. Second huge mistake companies make at this stage of the game is they'll hire 10 salespeople, their quota is $2 million a year, and they'll do the math that if at 10 salespeople and $2 million, that'll get me $20 million. But you haven't sold even one, right? So what if the product doesn't fit the market? That can happen. It's happened to me many times. Well, you want this thing to be small at that point in time in terms of sales team and sales investment. Keep it simple, one product, small team. Maybe you're the sales guy, right? You need some SEs, you can be the sales guy. And if you find enough customers buying it, good, you can expand. Chances are you're not going to find that. Even after all this exercise, the product market fit is hard to do. That is why you have to keep iterating that product. There are certain people who are really good, they're geniuses, they get it right the first time. You know, the guy who made Chobani made this yogurt and he couldn't make enough yogurt, right? Chances are you make yogurt, nobody's going to want to eat the yogurt. You're going to have to iterate on the yogurt. So the key here is keep those expenses low. And if you've built out a team and there's no fit and you have to go back to the drawing board, you have to do something very painful. You have to cut the cost and cut the organization. Nobody likes to do this. Entrepreneurs are for building and hiring. Firing is not a natural instinct that entrepreneurs have, but you have to have that. Okay, let's say you get past that stage.
I have the unpleasant responsibility to give you a time check.
What is it?
30 seconds of, if you might, wrapping up. It's scintillating. I don't want to bore you.
Okay.
I know the audience has questions and answers. So.
Well, okay. Let me just deal with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just deal with that.
Very interesting lesson. Absolutely. I've been outvoted.
All right. So I'm going to fast forward to this part. I actually almost began with this part, which is that this intellectual stuff is all very exciting, very interesting, and you can read lots and lots of books. The part that I want you to think about is being emotionally prepared to do this. Anybody who's built a business knows the emotional take it'll take on you. So if you're not prepared for this, you will fail. You won't fall down once, you won't fall down twice, you will fall down repeatedly. In fact, you'll fall down so many times that you might ask on the nth time when you're getting up, how many times do you have to get up? And the answer is going to be very simple. You have to get up every single time. And as a leader, you don't have the option of looking defeated. A boxer can be all bloodied up. A leader cannot be bloodied up. So when you walk into work, not only are you motivated, you are motivating because the team is looking at you. And despondency is highly, highly contagious. But the good news is, so is courage. Courage is incredibly contagious. And if you show that in your hour of trial and challenge, you can overcome those inevitable moments of setback and failure. Okay, let me just talk. I talked about the company. Most of the things I've talked about in terms of what not to do, I did all of those with the first company. It required about $1 billion in capitalization. It was a full-blown platform. What was it? It was a software-defined data center. You may say, isn't that what people are doing today? That's the right vision, but it was the wrong execution. It required too much money to get right. It was a full-blown architecture, and we prematurely built the organization, and I ran out of $100 million trying to do this. I started FireEye in 2004 and got it funded, and I used the exact process that I just described. I actually was looking for a problem. I had no clue what was in the black box, and I built the black box. And the black box was the perfect detection engine and finds an attack about which it knows nothing. And this is now the fastest growing security company in the world today. And I will be not embarrassed to say I knew nothing about this when I built the black box. Our mission was to create products and services that allow networks to react in real time to rapidly evolving threats because I believed that cyber attacks would become extremely dangerous, and they have. And it was to build a service as well. So NORAD is the service aspect of FireEye. Threat intelligence shared globally with the global view of cyberscape. And today we have both. We have built NORAD for cyberspace. After we went public, this was September 20th, 2013, so just a month ago, Sequoia, my lead investor, wrote this. And I think it's worth, and the reason I bring it out is this was not a cakewalk. In fact, Sequoia has seen quite a few ups and downs in the companies they've funded, and they actually had written us off too. I nearly shut down 3 times along the way, and Sequoia got prompted to write this note, which is in that 2008 and 9 time frame when we were struggling on many fronts, people thought we were dead. But we were not. We kept building the product, and I did all those things that I just talked about. We actually had to do. I had to go, I built the sales organization, I fired the entire sales organization, and I rebuilt the product, and I rebuilt the company. So from 2010 onwards, we are probably one of the fastest growing companies in the world and one of the fastest growing enterprise companies of all time at this point in time. So since these time checks have come in, I'm going to stop here, and I don't know if we still have time for a few questions or answers, but we'll take that.
How about another round of applause for Mr. Aziz here? So many of you guys don't know, but he definitely lived up to our little skit in the beginning because he was not feeling well today, but he still made it out here despite that. So thank you very much, Mr. Aziz. Thank you. We have a little token of our appreciation for you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. Really appreciate it. Yes.
Oh, sure.
We still have we have an audience that really wants to hear you a little longer.
You guys are not shooing me off the stage. I'm happy
questions.
to stay here. Stay as long as I want.
Okay, so first question, and just so you guys know, the app that we have has an ask feature. If you download the app and you type in a question, we will ask our speakers those questions. So please download the app if you haven't already done so. So first question we have for you, what innovations and advances do you see in cybersecurity in the next 5 years?
Wow. So that's a complicated and long question. It directly pertains to what I do. The threat landscape is enormously complex. I don't think people understand what is happening in the threat actor landscape in cyberspace. I'm going to just talk about this very briefly. Every dimension that humanity has occupied, we have weaponized. We were in land, and we had sticks and stones for useful purposes before we figured out that we could kill each other with that. Somebody figured out that wood doesn't sink, and they made ships, and we had people floating around on the ocean, and before too long, we weaponized the seas. And then shortly after we went into the air, we weaponized airspace. And very shortly after we created cyberspace, it has been fully weaponized. So the conflicts of the 21st century will always be reflected in the cyber dimension that we have created. Crime, espionage, warfare will be the norm. And as long as there is humanity, as long as there is a cyberspace, we will have conflict in it because that's the nature of human society. The arms race will never end. This arms race is now extracting billions of dollars of funding from virtually every industrialized and not so industrialized nation state in the world. They're spending billions of dollars on offense. And this activity is likely to continue. So I know we're talking about the advances in cybersecurity, but let me talk about the advances on the threat landscape because they will drive the innovations in cybersecurity. The ability for an attacker to infiltrate your network, to steal information at will, that is unfortunately there today. That's why FireEye is so successful because we can detect that, we can block that. Their ability to exfiltrate information, the ability to destroy computers. This is something that maybe a lot of people don't know, but destruction has already reared its ugly head in cyberspace with the destruction of computer assets in the Arabian Peninsula, in Saudi Aramco, and the destruction of a large number of South Korean companies in the Korean Peninsula. So wherever you have conflict, you see that conflict being reflected in the cyber dimension. So we expect that this arms race will continue for the foreseeable future, and that architectures like we're bringing to bear will become a pervasive part of the fabric of cyberspace. Do we have more work to do? Absolutely. You can never stop because the threat actors will never stop, right? So I don't have much time to go deeper technologically, but this is a complex area, and any paper napkin? Actually, I have all the paper napkins. I wrote everything in my notebook, so the discipline I had was I had many ideas. There were actually 5 or 6 that I was working in parallel. And I would write the problem and potential solutions, and it's all in my notebook. And the notebook now, they've taken pictures, and they're sitting in some FireEye sort of lobby somewhere. So I have all of that.
We have time for one more question, so I'm going to ask the one at the bottom. How did you secure your VCs and your financial backing for the company?
Yeah, so it is not always easy. This was my second time around, so it was a little bit easier because they knew me from my first startup, even though it was not hugely successful, and they figured I'd be really pissed not succeeding the first time, and I might do a better job the second time. So they bet on a loser.
Ashar, I just want to delve into that question a little bit. You mentioned that Sequoia initially did not back you, but you were able to get them on board for FireEye later. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Well, actually, the history of Sequoia actually seed funded me, and they wanted to fund me independent of a concept. And I did not want to be in their EIR program because I wanted to be comfortable myself. So here's the thing. There's a lot of focus here on how do you go convince a VC. And I don't want you to think about that because they have way more of $5 to $10 million than you have 5 to 10 years of your life. So don't think about impressing a VC. Don't think about what is the right thing to say or charm them. But think about, do you want to put your life here? That's the thing you should be thinking about because your life is way more important than their money.
Great. Thanks very much, Ashar. I think this was my most challenging task, and for an old man to get Ashar off the stage, I didn't find it easy. Humility galore here. Just so you guys know, the company IPO'd with a market cap of $4 billion. We are talking about major IPO. Thanks once again. Ashar is going to be around. Please make sure you introduce yourself. We can have him speak for the whole day, and we will have you back, inshallah. Thanks very much.